Right then, everyone, how are we getting on? Strange time at the moment. No Celtic really in our lives in terms of matches, in terms of training. The players are on a break at the moment. Thankfully, we do have some sort of football to get our teeth into. It's not to everyone's taste, but it's the World Cup taking place in November and December. It has got underway since I last spoke to you. Slowly. First 2 or 3 matches, there wasn't a great deal to write home about. I would say the last few have been a bit better. Certainly the first one today, Argentina losing to Saudi Arabia, was a great game. Really enjoyed that one. Kind of hoping that result spurs the tournament into life. Although I am recording this with about 15 minutes to go. In fact, less than that, 10 minutes to go in Denmark, Tunisia, and it's still goalless. So maybe that's not the case. Few wee kind of Celtic developments as well so far. We are still waiting on the likes of Aaron Moy getting underway tonight for the old Socceroos against France. Also, Josip Juranovic and Dyson Maeda tomorrow. Cameron Carter-Vickers was part of the US squad for last night's draw with Wales, but didn't get off the bench. But there was some sort of Celtic interest with our former lone player Timo Weah scoring a very neat goal and kind of reminding us all about how Celtic used to do transfer business in January with stopgap loans and late deals done. I'm not actually sure Timo Weah was a last gasp deal. I feel like he was earlier in the month, but still the difference from those days under Rodgers and Lennon and even prior to that to what we have with Ange right now, a manager who is already effectively knows what he's going to do in January and is now using this period to plan for the summer. So we're going to have a wee chat about all of this kind of stuff, mainly Celtic, not too much more in the World Cup, although there are a couple of wee interesting bits to note. I thought we could do a bit of a news roundup today, mainly Celtic stuff. As I say, I've been writing on 67 Hail Hail a wee bit lately and will be doing so throughout the World Cup. So all this kind of news is fresh in my mind and there's a few things I want to talk about. Just to give you a wee update on what is going on with Celtic. Last time we saw them was in the early hours of Sunday morning. I'm still recovering from that. We played Everton in our second and final match of the Sydney Super Cup. I thought it was a decent enough trip. I think it was always going to really be more about the fans in Australia and surrounding areas of the globe, getting to see Celtic in the flesh. And I know for a fact that plenty of you watching this may have seen Celtic for the first time, or certainly the first time in a long while. Just a shame we didn't maybe get some more goals and a slightly better performance in the first game. But I think overall a successful trip. Ange has already hinted at us doing more of this kind of stuff going forward. I know Japan has been mentioned potentially next summer, although I guess the difficulty with that is that we would have to have won the league and have no European qualifiers for it to properly work. And we may not actually win the league until February or something at this rate. I mean, it may only be February this year when we actually clinch the league the way it's going. So we might have to wait till that stage to announce it. But Celtic players are on an 8-day break right now. They're a couple of days into that. Ange is giving them that, mainly as a bit of time to rest. And he kind of mentioned the mental aspect of it as well. And I think that's almost as important as the physical stuff. It's been a really draining, demanding, topsy-turvy start to the season when you think of all the European matches and recently even domestically how kind of nervy some of the games have been late on in the match. We've rarely had a kind of smooth sailing victory domestically over the last 5-6 weeks. So I think it's really important that the players use this next week just to chill and to come back fresh and ready to go next week. We're heading to Portugal soon after. We've got a mid-season training camp planned there with a match as well. That's not to say that players are going to be lounging around or getting on the bevy. It does seem like a number of them are taking this very seriously and using it as further time to really get up to speed. Carol Starfelt seems to be off with James Forrest and Oliver Abelgard. Now, I'm doubting myself there slightly because I can't actually find the Starfelt Instagram story now. He's taken it down or it's gone past the 24-hour point when it automatically comes down. But I'm sure that's who he photographed himself with yesterday. And I want to say they're off to Dubai, but again, I'm doubting myself massively with that. But certainly those three seem as if they're really looking to get up to speed. None of them have really played a major part in our season so far. I know Forrest has scored some goals. Abelgard, came in late. Starfelt's had injuries. So I think those are three players to watch in the second half of the season. And it's really interesting to see those three going off together and seemingly, pumping the iron and all that kind of stuff that I would never know how to do. And hopefully they come back and really ready to make an impression for Celtic. So I reckon Celtic will return early next week, possibly Monday or Tuesday. We'll head to Portugal soon after. We are actually playing a French Ligue 1 side Rennes in a friendly in Portugal at some stage, possibly the 9th or the 10th of December. I've seen both of those two dates mentioned online. I've not actually seen the match being confirmed anywhere, certainly not on Celtic's website, but it does seem like it's going to be a low-key affair anyway. I mean, the kind of match we might not even do a reaction for. I don't know if it'll be televised. It may just be a training ground match. It may be more than that. I guess we'll find out soon. It could be held in the whatever the biggest stadium in Portugal is, for example, but I would doubt it. After that, competitive game return is on Saturday, December the 17th at Pittodrie. Now, the big bit of news yesterday that I don't want to spend too long talking about is that our rivals are looking for a new manager after they sacked Giovanni van Bronckhorst yesterday. So at Rangers, they've got fan apathy, boardroom issues, a major points gap to overhaul, and a squad in need of a major overhaul. Sounds kind of familiar, that, doesn't it? I mean, I think this is something that you won't see in the media, really. But it does feel to me like they're in a similar-ish position to where we were when Ange came into the club, with all of those issues to contend with. And I guess at the moment they're looking for their Ange Postecoglou, someone who can come in, who has the charisma, who has the personality, who has the experience and the know-how to turn their fortunes around. And I guess that's also a reminder to us that no matter how bleak things seem for them and how much superiority we seem to have on the face of it at the moment, things can turn quickly. Thankfully, from our point of view, and hopefully I'm not speaking ahead of time here, Ange Postecoglou's are pretty hard to find, and we are extremely lucky to have come across him at that time and to have him at the club. I don't mean it was just luck. I mean, obviously people deserve credit for being aware of him and appointing him, but the way things fell and what has happened since he's come in, I just think it was a aligning of the stars in many ways, and hopefully Rangers aren't going to have a similar moment to that, but it is more evidence that we just can't afford to get complacent at all. We're 9 points clear, but nothing is won yet. We just need to keep going. And I guess the good thing under Ange is that complacency is unlikely to come into it at all. Just a few other things I want to talk about before I go. Going back to the World Cup, a couple of interesting takeaways from the matches that I've been watching that people have been talking about online. Probably know what I'm going to say here. Number one is the increased stoppage time that we're seeing in every single match. It's clearly not a one-off or a two-off. It's clearly something that has been, brought in for this World Cup by FIFA, instructions given to referees, and similarly, less notably, but also penalties being given for shirt pulling. Now, both of these are obviously a directive from FIFA to referees, and World Cups are often used as the place for these changes to first come in, and often competitions after the World Cup follow on from this. They set the tone, if you like. World Cups are used as these big moments for obvious reasons. So I reckon we're going to see more and more stoppage time, especially at the end of second halves going forward. It may be that 4 minutes, or let's face it, 1 minute if you're actually chasing a goal as a Celtic fan, may turn into 7, 8 or 9 minutes, and we'll just have to get used to that. It's change, and change always gets people talking and often gets people being quite unhappy about it and slamming it a little bit. I think generally it's not a bad thing. If it means we're going to see more Celtic with the ball in play, time actually been added on for VAR stoppages and time wasting and substitutions, etc., I don't think it's a bad thing. Obviously shirt pulling stuff as well, I think is going to become part of the rule book as well. It kind of already is, but I think it's going to become more and more punishable. So that's something we'll have to be aware of as well. So that was a couple of things I just wanted to point out. Other thing I wanted to say to you We're going to do a Q&A probably next week, but I'm going to record it in the next couple of days. So if you've got anything you want me to touch on, answer to do with Celtic, World Cup, the channel, anything at all, we're going to give that a go. Equally, if there's anything you feel that you want me to cover during the World Cup break until Celtic are back, more than happy to do it. Obviously a little bit harder to come up with ideas when there's not a great deal happening with regards to Celtic. So if you've got any kind of other issues, I know we've done like Champions League stuff, we've done financial stuff, if there's anything else you think would make a good video, I'm more than happy to tackle it and bring you that. So I'll say goodbye for now, and yeah, we're back tomorrow hopefully with loads of stuff happening.